The Pope has just sat down and made statements. I have left links below. Now, in this news article, he describes ISIS going out just like Muhammad did, the same way, politically enterprising by war through religious means, a false religious means at that. So how could you take ISIS and compare their false religion, their atrocities, to Jesus and the disciples? Just the same way the Crusades used the word of God to come into the fulfillment of the earth. So once again, he rears his horns, his heads on the atrocity of what actually the scriptures state by showing himself as the Antichrist. Antichrist means anybody who goes against the word of God, anybody who speaks against the word of God, anybody who is not of the word of God or carry the characteristics of the word of God. That is what the definition of Antichrist means. So the Pope is going around telling the nations and the world and all of his little followers that the disciples are just like the jihadists. So the jihadists is going out is just like Jesus sending his disciples out to teach the word. Let me make one thing clear about any Hebrew scrolls, any Hebrew text, any word of God that it came from the Hebrews was about the Hebrews and the nations in the world. Remember, this is not an angle, this is a well-rounded thing. Grafted olive tree. With that being said, when you are dealing with the word of God, when you are dealing with this, once you are renewed and rebirthed and of mind, heart, body, and soul, you have to understand one thing. There is no dipping and dabbing into politics. There is no dipping and dabbing into whatever goes on. You see, that was the trick of the world. They went and the taxpayer came up to Jesus. They asked Jesus for some tax money for whatever was going on. He told one of his disciples to go over there to the river. You're going to see a fish, all right, and he's going to have a coin. A coin in his mouth. Take the coin out of his mouth and give it to the taxpayer. Then they asked him again, what should we do about taxes? What does the Lord say about that? He said, whose face is on that coin? Render to Caesar what is Caesar's. He sits down and he'll tell you these stuff in parables and out in front of your face. I sat down 400 and something videos ago and let you know how the Latin words in the Vatican on the Pope stuff had added up to 666. I sat down and posted a video of the Pope actually telling you to enjoy Christmas and New Year's, that it was your last one. But nobody seems to be getting it and paying attention unless they hear it from somebody else. And that somebody else is somebody who got all these prophecies and all this other stuff that never comes true. So watch what the nations and the Gentiles do and they say. Because it's real amazing, all right, how I can sit down here and give you all the answers in front of your face, but then nobody wants to believe it or see it unless they hear it from somewhere else. Then I can sit down here 400, 500 videos before this and explain to you about the Latin words and the 666. But nobody sees it until it happens. And even with this stuff going on and happening, we see don't nobody even care. Nobody's making a movement to stop. Nobody's leaving the Catholic religion to find out the truth so they can be saved, so they can be brought into the oneness, because they're so stupefied that they think that that little bit of grace is going to save them when it's not. Because if you don't carry the characteristics and the actions, I don't care who you are. Black, white, purple, green, or brown. Your behind ain't making it. So watch out for the Pope, because this has already been foretold. In the Bible you had two Simons. One of them was the sorcerer, and the other one was Hebrew. The one of them wanted to buy into the religion and do all this other stuff. Now, if you look at the people and you look at the scriptures, and if you know anything about the Catholic religion, it was the Romans and the Greeks that branched it all, put the paganistic idols in there and all that other stuff. It was them that started that. This all has to do with religion, not worldly things, because we already know that the world is fashioned off of religion. It is segregated, separated into states and colonized after religion. So why don't you start finding some spiritual discernment so you can start seeing what's going to happen before it happens? I had once told a story a long time ago about how in history Rome had tried to change the Sabbath days, change calendar days, change a lot of the aspects with politically and worldly things to add up to the Catholic religion. They have tried 3 times, and I left the date. The third time, they succeeded. It hurt them. They were going through a lot of things. Now, a lot of parables in the scriptures give out details, but a lot of people take them for what they say instead of spiritually being discerned. Those 3 times that you see the beast come up with his head healed and the world was in awe was the Catholic Roman Church, because of what they had put into place, what they tried to put in place, and took them 3 times to succeed. Nobody looks at these things though.